These are the nutrients that are needed to build your sleep-related hormones and neurotransmitters to make all of the magic happen. You can get the fanciest, pansiest mattress you can ever imagine, the pillow with the most flex and fluffiness and shoots out rainbows, whatever it is. You can get all of this fancy stuff. Get the blackout curtains. All those things are wonderful. But if you don't have the raw materials to build your sleep-related hormones and neurotransmitters, our sleep is going to continue to suffer. So this is why this is important. And also, when identifying these nutrients, what are the best foods to find them in? So we're going to talk about that. And we'll also cover how commonly consumed foodstuffs, in addition to those, actually damage your sleep quality, plus a whole lot more. And if this is your first time tuning into the Model Health Show, again, my name is Shawn Stevenson. I'm the author of the USA Today national bestseller, Eat Smarter, and the international bestselling book, Sleep Smarter. And again, on this episode, we're going to dive into specific foods that we need to be eating on a regular basis to improve our sleep quality. So first things first, we're going to start at the top. And I want to begin with why focusing on good sleep nutrition is so beneficial. When we think about diet and nutrition here in this culture, it's generally in the context of weight loss and weight management. That's generally what we relate to psychologically, nutrition and diet. But our sleep quality itself is one of the most powerful controllers of our metabolism, specifically in the domain of body weight and metabolism. Researchers at Stanford University found that insufficient sleep can reduce levels of the satiety hormone leptin that has big influences on your overall metabolism. And also, sleep deficiency increases the level of the hunger hormone ghrelin. All right, ghrelin is really the captain of the team of our hunger-related hormones that drive us to eat more. So being sleep deprived suppresses our satiety hormones and increases our hunger hormones. A recent study conducted by researchers at the University of Chicago revealed that our fat cells themselves need sleep too. All right, our fat cells need sleep. The study recruited healthy, lean test subjects, and each volunteer went through 2 study conditions. In one part of the study, they spent 8.5 hours a night in bed for 4 consecutive nights. In another part of the study, they spent 4.5 hours in bed. So they took away 4 hours of their sleep for 4 nights. Food intake in both phases was exactly the same and strictly controlled. All right, they're in a ward study. They're monitoring everything. They're eating the exact same amount of food on the morning after their normal nights of sleep and on the morning after their 4 nights of sleep deprivation. All right, the morning after the walk of shame. Each volunteer was given an intravenous glucose tolerance test, which measures their total body insulin sensitivity. In addition, the researchers performed a biopsy, removing abdominal fat cells from the volunteers, and they measured how those fat cells specifically responded to the role of insulin. And after 4 nights of sleep deprivation, their total body insulin response was suppressed. It decreased by an average of 16%. Plus, and this is the most important part, specifically their fat cells themselves, again, that they took out via biopsy, their fat cells themselves, their insulin sensitivity decreased by 30%. All right, so what does this mean? First of all, insulin resistance, this lack of insulin sensitivity. A classic sign of insulin resistance is carrying around more abdominal belly fat. But what does this mean is specifically for these numbers? This reduction in insulin sensitivity is comparable to the difference between cells from a lean person and cells from someone who is obese. And again, these were lean, healthy test subjects who suddenly their fat cells were functioning as if they became obese in 4 days, just 4 days of sleep deprivation. Or another comparison here is somebody without diabetes. That's what their markers look like initially, becoming somebody with diabetes. That's how their fat cells were actually responding as if they had diabetes within 4 days. All right, this is remarkable. And this is, again, these controlling factors for our metabolism that is not talked about in different diet programs. It's not talked about the necessity of optimizing our sleep for so many different things that have to do with our health and well-being. And to put the cherry on top, all right, one more study looking at how sleep impacts our body composition. And this one is incredibly eye-opening. And I really help to push this into the interwebs because it's so right to the point. This study, published in the Annals of Internal Medicine, conducted by researchers at the University of Chicago, followed overweight but healthy volunteers to study the impact that sleep deprivation has on their metabolism. They put them on a carefully controlled, reduced calorie diet and monitored them for 14 days during one phase of the study, allowing them to get 8.5 hours of sleep. All right, now they keep them on the same exact diet for the next phase of the study, and they sleep deprive them. They pull away 3 hours of sleep. So now they're getting 5.5 hours of sleep for 14 days, and they track their results. Now, again, they're on the exact same diet, but in one phase, they're getting adequate sleep. In another phase, they're being sleep deprived. After compiling all of the data, they found that when folks were adequately rested, they lost 55% more body fat eating the exact same diet. The changes were remarkable. And the question is why? How can sleep have such a powerful effect on our body composition and our weight? And a big part of that is that our sleep is a major controller of our hormones. And when we're talking about sleep quality in of itself, the same thing is true. Your hormones and neurotransmitters are the chemical messengers sending these metabolic DMs to make all of the magic happen, to keep all of the cells in your cellular community that make up your body on the same page. So clearly our sleep is a major controller of our metabolism, absolutely. And to optimize our sleep, our nutrition is of the utmost importance. So to see how this interaction between nutrition and sleep actually takes place, look no further than the incredible world of our microbiome. So now we're going to dive in deep. We're going to get up in them guts and take a look at what's happening in relationship to our microbiome and the sleep connection. Your tiny gut bacteria play a gigantic role in regulating your sleep cycles. A recent study published in the journal Sleep Medicine discovered that negative changes to your microbiome can have substantial detrimental effects on the quality of your sleep. Again, negative changes to your microbiome can have substantial detrimental effects to the quality of your sleep. And what's more, the researchers discovered that poor sleep quality can also have detrimental effects on your microbiome. They literally feed into each other, and you can get caught in a vicious circle that so many people are experiencing, and they have no idea why. Again, they're getting the fanciest, pansiest mattress. They're getting the best pillow. They're getting the heavy blanket, right? They're getting the blanket that suffocates you. What is it called? What are they called? Weighted blankets. They're getting the weighted blanket. Makes it feel like they're in the womb again, but it's still not working. All right. They can't even get smothered to sleep. All right. And shout out to the weighted blankets. I think they're fantastic for some people. But we're not addressing the root cause. What's actually controlling the process of sleep itself. And it has so much to do with our microbiome and our nutrition. Their report demonstrated that as the microbiome is negatively altered and sleep quality is reduced, there's a direct reduction in our ability to switch between different mental tasks, something called cognitive flexibility. Cognitive flexibility. So to make this clear, when our microbiome sleep connection is disrupted, it damages our sleep and damages our cognitive ability as well. And again, I dive into that in depth in Eat Smarter because we're looking at our metabolism. How can we eat to optimize our metabolism? And again, taking people behind the scenes and teaching people how their metabolism actually works, but also what are nutrients, specific foods that improve our cognitive performance. That's what the smarter part of Eat Smarter is really all about. Now, as mentioned, to dive in deeper into them guts, to talk about how this actually works, I'm going to read you a powerful tidbit from Eat Smarter. One of the major reasons that our gut health has such a profound impact on our sleep is due to the sleep-related hormones and neurotransmitters that are produced and or stored in the gut. Take serotonin, for example. Serotonin is well noted to promote positive mental and emotional health, while low levels of serotonin are associated with anxiety and depression. On top of that, serotonin also plays a major part in sexual function, bone health, regulating the movement of your digestive system, and sleep quality. A 2007 report found that low levels of serotonin can contribute to insomnia. Serotonin is a potent neurotransmitter with many jobs, and even though it's often associated with things happening in our brains, the vast majority of serotonin is actually located in our gut. Approximately 90% of the human body's total serotonin is located in the gastrointestinal tract. And scientists at the California Institute of Technology, Caltech, reported that there are specific bacteria that interact with the cells in the gut that produce and secrete serotonin for us. These cells, called enterochromaffin cells, are interacting with your bacteria cells all of the time. And if the north pole of your microbiome goes south, the only thing coming down your chimney will be a big box of sleep problems. Not only does serotonin improve sleep on its own accord, one of the most important things your body does with serotonin is use it to make your number one sleep regulating hormone, melatonin. Yes, melatonin is glorified as a, quote, sleep hormone, but it's really so much more than that. It's involved in regulating your body's circadian timing system, influencing when various hormones are released throughout the day and night, mental energy, digestive function, etc., as well as regulating your blood pressure, body temperature, cortisol levels, antioxidant defenses, and immune function. Saying melatonin is just a sleep hormone is like saying Michael Jordan is just good at putting a ball into a circle. Now, to reiterate and to step away a little bit from the text, melatonin is playing an enormous amount of roles in the human body, really regulating our what we call this biological clock. And what that means, this is how we're literally synced up with nature. Our hormones are getting produced at certain times during the day, neurotransmitters, our digestion, everything about us, every one of our cells has a little biological clock, this circadian rhythm. It sounds kind of a little bit meta and kind of weird or even a little woo-woo, but it's not. This is how we're designed. But the interesting thing about humans is we can pretend we're not a part of nature. All right, we can hide out, we can manufacture whatever time of day we want. But the human body is constantly looking to sync itself with the diurnal and nocturnal patterns of the earth itself. We're connected to it no matter what. And so when I was in college, I was taught that melatonin, really, again, it was a sleep hormone. And also I was taught that melatonin is produced in the pineal gland of the brain. End of story. Next chapter. Turn the page. That was it. Very, very rudimentary description of something that is so remarkable. Today, we know that melatonin is also synthesized in other cells outside of the pineal cells, such as bone marrow cells, your lymphocytes, and most remarkably, cells in the gut. Research published in the World Journal of Gastroenterology revealed that the human digestive tract could contain more than 400 times more melatonin than the pineal gland at any given time. Do you understand this? I was taught melatonin is produced in the pineal gland. That's what everybody hears. We have 400 times more melatonin in our gut than in our brain. We think that sleep is a head thing, but it has a lot to do with what's happening in our bellies. Now, to really drive this point home, a new study that I broke down in Eat Smarter, cited in Frontiers in Psychiatry, peer-reviewed journal, purported that our microbiome helps to regulate our sleep and mental state through the action of the microbiome gut-brain axis. Your microbiome is at the very root of your sleep wellness. And this leads us to our first list of foods to improve your overall sleep quality. Foods that are rich in prebiotic fibers, resistant starch, and probiotics. This first list that I want to share with you is coming right from the pages of Eat Smarter, are also foods that are rich in potassium. And I did this very specifically because a study cited in the journal Sleep found that potassium can help improve sleep efficiency, meaning that you go through your sleep cycles more effectively. All right, it's not necessarily about sleeping a certain amount of hours. It's the quality of that sleep. And potassium is one of those key drivers, this important electrolyte in optimizing your sleep cycles themselves. And also, the researchers found, and again, this was published in the journal Sleep, that potassium helped to reduce wake after sleep onset. So meaning that you wake up less often. Now, when we're talking about potassium and also hitting those categories of resistant starch, probiotics, prebiotic fibers, we've got a diversity here. When you think about potassium, a lot of folks think about bananas, all right? B-A-N-A-N-A-S is bananas, all right? Bananas are often touted as the best source of potassium, which, funny enough, they actually happen to be a very high source of resistant starch that helps to feed our friendly microbes that have a big relationship to regulating our sleep cycles. All right, resistant starch is something you're going to be hearing a lot more about in the upcoming years. Now, here's the key. There's a certain caveat with this. When the banana is not ripe, when it's a green banana, it's very high in resistant starch. But as it gets more ripe, it goes from a higher starch content to higher sugar content. All right, it's that conversion process. It gets sweeter. Now, I don't know about you, but I've never had a craving for a green banana. All right. If I've ever seen anybody just crack open a green banana, I probably thought some weird things about them. All right. And also that little part of the banana, that little brown part, you know, it's just kind of tastes like real chalky and weird. Some people call it the devil's anus, but it's not very, that part as well we can do without. All right. Green bananas and the devil's anus. Sorry. So the green banana, as it gets more and more ripe, I think that they call the devil's anus was in Thor Ragnarok as well. Like when there's like some portal in the sky, but don't quote me on that. Anyways, I just had a whole stream of thoughts from that. And shout out to WandaVision. Are you checking out WandaVision? That's going down right now. Very strange, but it's the MCU. I trust you guys. I trust you. All right, so what we can do here is maybe you add a little bit of a green banana to a smoothie. It's going to have benefits for your sleep as far as the potassium is concerned, and also as a resistant starch to feed the friendly microbes. Or there's even like green banana flour that, you know, again, you want to get high quality, organic if you can, that folks are, you know, you can add to smoothies and baked goods and all kinds of creative ways you can add it in. But if you're not into that, there's so many other options. Okay, so just staying in this lane with potassium as an emphasis and also having some other benefits for our microbes. So a potassium that really supersedes bananas and you can do without the worry about the sugar or the not tastiness of a green banana is avocados. All right, avocado. A little fun fact, the kind of one of the roots of the word avocado, it means testicle fruit. You didn't hear that from me though. All right, grows in trees and pears. Dangle, never mind. All right, this is taking a turn. I didn't know we would turn this direction, but again, avocados, great. And they're actually, funny enough, they're great for your reproductive system. Many benefits there as well. So avocados are another great source. Plus you're going to get some prebiotic fibers there too. And again, we're going through lists of foods that have proven benefits in improving our sleep quality. So we've got avocados, green leafy vegetables, incredible source of potassium. And also we're getting some of these prebiotic fibers. All right. In this category of prebiotic fibers to feed our healthy microbes, our quote friendly flora, because you could take all the probiotics you want. They're not going to be able to colonize and to proliferate in your system and actually stay and give you benefit if you don't have the prebiotic foods that specific strains of bacteria need to eat. If they don't have their preferred food source, they're just going to leave. They're not welcome. All right. So we've got to feed them their preferred food source. And pretty much every real food is going to have some type of prebiotic benefit for some strain of bacteria. All right. Because when you're eating a food, when you're eating a blueberry, when you're eating an avocado, you're eating the avocado's microbiome. Just think about that. It's remarkable. We just see these things that are just some random entity over there is food, but it is a living thing and it has its own microbiome and we're taking that on. It's remarkable, right? So as we're adding in more diversity of real foods, we're adding in, we don't have to just go and get a list of prebiotics, from a Google search, because it's going to be very limited in its scope and the thought process is coming from the researchers. It's very limited. Like, oh, we know we got inulin here, whatever the case might be. So Jerusalem artichoke, garlic, onions, leeks. We know that that's on the list, but every real food has prebiotic potential. So avocados is another great source of potassium. Green leafy vegetables, as mentioned. Sweet potatoes, great source of potassium. Sea veggies, oh my goodness, especially dulse. This is one of the most remarkable sources of potassium. All right, gram per gram, best source of potassium you're going to find is dulse. And also, they got these prebiotic capacities as well. On that lane, even if there's a beverage that's great with potassium, coconut water. All right, coconut water. I got put on a coconut water, man, what was that probably about 15 years ago. My mother-in-law, she would go to this world market and get these coconuts, these young coconuts. And I'm from Missouri. I never see such things. I didn't get it at all. But, cracking those bad boys open, I had down to a science. You also feel like some kind of way about it, too. When you're cracking open that young coconut, you feel like, I don't know, like you could play, play a ukulele or whatever. Like, just hand it to me. Like, all of a sudden, you just got that skill. You don't, but you just feel it. So, yeah. Coconut water is another great source of potassium. And again, there's microbiome. You're consuming the microbiome of that coconut as well. So I don't want to be limited in our thinking of what prebiotics are. It's bigger than just this, what we call fiber. It's so much bigger and broader. Also, with resistant starch and potassium, white beans, all right, black beans. Some diet frameworks don't allow it. They don't allow it. And that's okay. But maybe for you, maybe your genes, maybe your ancestors for the past centuries have thrived by incorporating beans, and it's been specifically feeding strains of bacteria that have protected you against weight gain, against inflammation. However, maybe the beans are a causative factor for some related health issues, because they definitely can be. Of course, one of our most incredible guests, Dr. Stephen Gundry, multi New York Times bestselling author, brilliant physician. Oh my goodness, I love him so much. Such a great guy. He's seen incredible results. He wrote The Plant Paradox, and teaching people, he really brought to the market the understanding of these lectins, right? These plant poisons the plants have built into them to protect them, right? So, but there are ways, if they're done in traditional fashion, for example, like using a pressure cooker or soaking the beans. Like, people weren't just making random bread back in the day. When you hear about, these like scriptural references, oftentimes it's fermented, right? It's prepared in a way that's much more intentional versus today's like factory farming dwarf wheat, this, genetically manipulated, whatever that is. It's so far removed from how it's produced, what we evolved with, and also the way that it's prepared. Okay, shows up as Wonder Bread. I wonder why I have health problems, right? So anyways, white beans, black beans also fit into this category. Again, if it's right for you, preferably if they're soaked and or sprouted, cooked properly, it might be very helpful for you. Because again, Eat Smarter is a unifier of all the best diet frameworks. We provide solutions and strategies for everybody. Nobody is left out of the equation. All of these wonderful diet frameworks that are out there, they get results for patients. They absolutely do. But consistently, there's a large percentage of people who don't get the results. And that's because many of these frameworks can be very dogmatic and prevent you from having something that you need, and also encouraging you to eat something that might actually not really resonate with your system. All right. So we have to keep both of those in context. So moving on and looking at, again, rich sources of potassium. We're just starting here. This is the first list. It's the first list. And also probiotic / prebiotic capacities to support your microbes that help to create your sleep-related hormones and neurotransmitters. We also have yogurt is in this category. Again, clinically proven. It's a great source of potassium. And also we get in this conversation, what kind of yogurt? Well, obviously it's not Go-Gurt. We're not talking about Go-Gurt. The squirtable, like artificial colored, like whatever, that stuff. Okay. So ideally we want to get full fat. And we talk about this in Eat Smarter, the nuances, whether you're doing the plant-based or, the dairy-based, but we want to avoid, it should be coming from a source that's also consuming its normal diet. So ideally, if it's grass-fed, full fat, so it's actually the whole kit and caboodle, but also then there's plant-based versions of yogurt that are becoming very popular today. It doesn't have as much clinical evidence to its benefit, but tests are being done all the time. And I just want us to be able to have the data at hand that exists and use it if we deem it something good for us. And also in that camp, when we're talking about potassium, we've got fish like mackerel and salmon. They don't meet the prebiotic fiber rule necessarily, but they're also exceptional sources of potassium. So there's a wide spectrum of different foods. This is just some. We definitely, please hear me, you have to be consistent every day. Target something that has a good source of potassium because it's required to build your sleep-related hormones and neurotransmitters. All right, this electrolyte, because our bodies are largely running on this kind of electrical currency. It helps our cells to literally communicate. Our brain cells need electrolytes in order to communicate. Signal transduction. They cannot talk to each other unless we have adequate electrolytes. Okay, now next up, before we dive into more specific foods and nutrients we want to target, again, to build our sleep-related hormones and neurotransmitters, even that's not going to matter much if we don't remove the cause, remove the things that are damaging our sleep-related hormones, neurotransmitters, and our microbes, our microbiome, that all of this associated activity is controlling our sleep quality on so many different levels that we've already covered. So we need to remove the cause of the problem, what can be hurting us. And so we're going to just go through a few of these. All of these are listed out in Eat Smarter. But peer-reviewed studies have shown that each of these have, again, proven detrimental impact on your gut bacteria. All right, the same gut bacteria that communicate with your cells in your gut, creating your sleep-related hormones and neurotransmitters. These are proven. Agricultural chemicals, pesticides, fungicides, herbicides, rodenticides. Side means to kill. It means to kill, right? The suffix side means to kill, but it's not going to kill anything in you. It just kills the little pesties. You're made. We are more of these single-celled organisms than we are human cells by far. All right. Our microbiome is that. It's these very small entities that are very susceptible to chemical exposure. Most agricultural chemicals, the vast majority of the thousands of them, thousands approved for use for growing human food by our EPA, right? Environmental Protection Agency. Why are they allowing so much? I thought you were going to protect me. I'm part of the environment. EPA? Nah, it doesn't work like that. These organizations, we have to look out for ourselves and we have to encourage policy change. All right. So, but these chemicals, they're either estrogenic or neurogenic. So estrogenic, meaning that they disrupt the reproductive cycle of very small organisms. Or they're neurogenic, damaging the nervous system of these various, small organisms. And just say, again, something that I was kind of miseducated about in school is the nature of a bacteria cell, right? It's the single-celled organism, doesn't have a brain. It's not smart. Oh, now we know. The bacteria communicate with each other. They respond to pain. They respond to changing conditions. That sounds very similar to a nervous system to me. We might call it something else. It's not human. But these things, now again, they're proven to cause significant damage to us. I talked about recently chlorpyrifos, one of the most widely used pesticides, and the multiple studies showing how it's caused significant brain damage to children. Pregnant mothers who are exposed to this chemical, again, approved by the EPA. It's red tape right now. It's supposed to be banned. It's at the Senate floor. It's at the courts, whatever. Why isn't it just gone? It's all of these politics, man. It's all these politics. And also skyrocketing rates of miscarriage, right? It's damaging the development of the nervous system of our babies. It's crazy, right? So to say that these things are damaging our microbiome, it shouldn't even be complicated to understand. Also, processed foods. What does that even mean? What is it? Trust the process. Not when it comes to food. Not when it comes to food. It's so far removed from anything that we're designed to eat over our countless centuries of evolution in this current form, right? We've got Homo erectus, right? Homo sapien. We're becoming Homo domesticus, right? We're like becoming this domesticated. I think about the album cover, Evolution of Robin Thicke. I don't know if it's like the evolving, and then we're kind of devolving. We're eating things in such a small window of our evolution that have never existed before. It's so far removed from actually being real food. It's just chemical and crazy processing to the degree that this corn ends up being put through so much manipulation that now we've got Captain Crunch. That Captain Crunch doesn't look a damn thing like corn, right? But it's derived from corn. Somehow, trust the process, not with this. Trust the process in life and other things, but not with food. Don't trust the process. But not to say, again, you can if you're into crunch berries, it's okay. But we want to make sure that that is the exception and not the rule. Myself, my family, where I come from, it's the rule. We'll just say if I have 30 close family members of mine growing up, 28 of them are obese. I grew up in this. This was just normal, all right? Knocking down, man, I'll eat a half a box of cereal easy. Like that's a regular. And don't let me get some good cereal because a lot of times we had the off-brand stuff. I didn't get Captain Crunch. We had King Vitamin. True story. King Vitamin was not as tasty, all right? Some of the stuff was equal, it's comparable, all right? We had we didn't have Tony the Tiger. We had, I think it was like a polar bear, right? It wasn't Frosted Flakes. It was like Sugar Flakes with the polar bear. Polo the polar bear. They're good, right? He's changing the motto, everything. But anyways, this is just what we were inundated with. Nearly every meal that I ate was processed foods, and wonder why we were in such a poor state of health. These foods are also destroying our bacteria cascade and really feeding opportunistic pathogenic bacteria who look for weakness in our system. It's just how nature works. So these are the things destroying our microbiome, destroying our sleep quality. We want to be more cognizant of these things so that we can avoid them. Hey, if you like this video, make sure to check out this video right here to up-level your health today. At the end of the study, they found that when individuals were well rested, they burned 55% more body fat just by getting more sleep. And so the question is, how does this happen?